Thanks for tuning into the AFV Factory. It's always appreciated you're supporting the channel. So this is the second review kit that I've been sent by Amusing Hobby. The first one being the Centurion Action X, and this is a Leopard 2 ARC 3.0. So this is very much a demonstrator, really. It's been built by a military conglomeration of France and Germany, and it's essentially a Leopard 2 chassis underneath, and then a whole suite of add-on armor, a completely redesigned crewless turret. So there's a bit of information on the side of the box here, so I can read that out to you. So it's 3-man chassis and unmanned turret, extremely flat turret design, improved crew protection, lower crew arrangement in the compact compartment, which reduces occupied vulnerable areas by 30%. I'm assuming that means that the not having the turret crewed, that's increasing the protection. It's an adaptable turret, so I know it can take the standard 120mm smoothbore gun that fires all the NATO rounds, and it can also be configured with 130 and 140mm main gun. It's an auto loader system, so it can load 3 rounds in 10 seconds. It's configurable for armament set at 3D loss and N loss, and I actually know what that means. That's 3D line of sight and non-line of sight engagement. I think that's a missile system that can be fitted to it. So yeah, there's an awful lot going on there. As I said, it's, as far as I'm aware, it's just a demonstrator. It's not been accepted by any militaries, and I suppose it may well not get accepted. It might just be used as a test bed, and some of the things that work on it may end up getting filtered down into people that use the Leopard 2 platform. So anyway, this is a lifting the lid review. I have done a written one on my Facebook page, but I always like to do a video one as well. So let's lift off this lid and let's have a look what's going on in the box. So we've got several bags of grey plastic here, and then some brown plastic for the tracks. So let's start here. We've got the turret, and I think you can see now what they were saying about how low down, or the depth of the turret has been reduced by removing any crew from it. So it's a fairly basic looking turret. We've got some detail on here. They're not really bolt heads, or they're sunken in, recessed. They might be bolt heads, but and the gun sits way back in here. One of the things that I did read about this, interestingly, was the fact that this turret design enables the main gun to have quite a considerable range of depression and elevation, and they've done that with this model as well. So you're going to be able to model it with the high elevation or the low depression should you wish to, which is quite good, I think. But yeah, there's not much to say about this. It goes together. Yeah, I mean, it hasn't had anything snipped off of it or sanded down. It just fits together nicely. So this top bag is for the upper armor. What you get with this kit, and you'll see this when I get down to it, is essentially a Leopard 2 chassis, lower and upper, to which you add this armor. So as you can see, this is what would be, I suppose, the glacis plate, but it's very flat arm angle, and you can just make out these panels here are slightly different to these armoured panels here. I'm going to go out on a limb and say those are the hatches where the crew gets in, because there's no obvious way of getting in and out of this chassis other than this slightly different these slightly different panels. So probably that's where that is. But again, it's nicely moulded. These are the side. This is for the side of the chassis, the additional armour. Very clean. I mean, this is the thing with modern 4th generation and tanks. More and more you're seeing these very, very clean lines. Unlike older tanks where you've got boxes and bin stowage stuff all over them, these modern tanks are doing away with this. There's the front of the chassis with the lights. Again, very modern design. Very much like a car, really. So that must be some sort of sensor array, because that will, I'm going to guess, is going to sit up onto here on the top of the turret. So what have we got here? So here's the barrel, which is, it's not slide molded, but there must be, oh, that must be the muzzle there, round that way. And you've got that half moon sort of fitting, which will slot onto the barrel. This, I believe, is just a 120mm barrel. You've got the fume extractor there. This also, yeah, so that's another section of the barrel there. These are the parts that sit inside the turret, which so the main gun will fit on to these, I believe, so that you get that pivot. What else have we got? So that's the 30mm cannon. It's got a weapon station on the top, and it has a, I think it's a 30mm. We'll have a look at the instructions, but you can see that that's slide molded, so you've got a muzzle there, as are these bits along here. So slide molded where necessary. Otherwise, again, yeah, I mean, everything appears to be clean and crisp. Some nice sort of narrow sprue gates, which is always good to see on these smaller bits. It's frustrating trying to cut through hefty sprue gates when you're trying to remove small parts without damaging them. So we're getting down onto the chassis now. Now, interestingly, with this, the chassis is actually not one solid tub. It's a bottom and then the two sides. And again, and I've said this before, I think Amusing Hobby are attempting, and I would say successfully, to minimize the amount of building time or the amount of parts that contribute to building a kit by focusing on molding on as much detail as possible. And that's quite evident on this chassis side. So you can see where the road wheels go in and the suspension arms. And this is torsion bar suspension on this. And again, as with all, to my knowledge, Amusing Hobby kits, that's workable suspension, and the tracks will also be workable. So, assuming that everything is nice and square and straight, will be interesting to see how these sides marry up with the floor and how well they go together. I can't see an issue with the way that they've designed this in three pieces, but it's certainly unusual. I can't think of another kit that I know of. Certainly not a modern kit. So what else have we got? So more armour there. That must be right up at the front. This section, I'm gonna guess, and then some lower track guards here that will hang down below the side armour. But yeah, I mean, as you can see, there's nothing there that I can see to complain about at the moment. Good stuff so far. So here we have your road wheels and sprockets and idlers, etc. And I think we might have the suspension on here as well. So yeah, those are the. I'm unsure whether that. We'll have a look in the instruction in a minute. Whether these are the torsion bars, but here are the wheels. Again, cleanly moulded. Nice wheel ridge there, so to make painting the tyres easier with a little bit of a lip to come up against. The sprockets again look good. I mean, it's nice and cleanly done. There's the swing arms there. One, two, three, four. Yeah, so I'm guessing these are the torsion bars because there's four on these, and there's one, two, and we've got 4D sprues. So yeah, that's what that is then. The torsion bar suspension. Got some small bits there, like that looks like an antenna. I don't know whether it's focused in or it's not there, is it? So yeah, and that's duplicated there 4 times, covering all of that suspension, road wheels, swinging arms, etc. So this is the chassis upper. Now, I know that Amusing Hobbies have done some Leopard tanks, so this is probably a Leopard 2A. I think they do a 2A8, I believe, which essentially is what's underneath the armour here. There's the So if you can imagine, it's a Leopard 2, and then this company have then covered it in all this new armour, obviously drastically reinvented the internals for the crew compartments and the turret, etc. But to all intents and purposes, it is still a Leopard 2 variant. So most of this will be gone, but again, it gives you a good idea of what their Leopard tanks are like if you were thinking about getting one, especially the newer versions of the Leopard 2. And there's the, as I was saying, so that's your hull floor or lower, and then those side parts just key in here up against that. Yeah, it looks nice and square. Maybe a bit of a twist in it, but nothing much. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying too much about it, but there's these pictures really speak for themselves. They're continue to be nicely moulded, and I think we've also got, this is the rear of the chassis. Look at that bag. Yeah, so anyone that knows what a Leopard tank looks like will instantly recognise that as the back of one. So here we have a bag that I haven't opened. So this is a duplicate as well to number I. And this is just a random, we've got some sort of cover there with some anti-slip, got toe cable eyes, some O section for where for towing, and then lots of other little bits again regarding for towing, etc. They look like little radios. I mean, yeah, we'll see what the instructions highlight, if they highlight anything, when we have a look at those in a second. And finally, we're on to the track. So not finally, because I just found these clear parts. So these are multi-part tracks. See, again, you get a little jig. It seems to be the way that a lot of manufacturers are going. And then, so we've got track pads. We've got the track links there. Yeah. Right, so yeah, so that's the lower of the track link. So that's what the road wheels will run on. And then on top of that, you fix on your track pad. So you can see they both go together like so. And yeah, I don't know whether you're going to be able to see this, but these are recessed along here, so these links can fit in. You sandwich the two together, and then you get workable tracks. So it will be interesting to see how these go together. I mean, it's not an uncommon thing now. Well, in reality, it's a very common thing, multi-part workable tracks. Lots of manufacturers do them. So we'll see. I mean, these may not even be, I'm using hobby tracks. They may come from another company, but I don't know that for sure one way or another. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they go together when I get round to doing this. Excuse me. So we've got some clear plastic bits for lenses, and these will also be for the sensors and that. Yeah, just standard stuff really, nothing much to say about those. And we get a little bit of PE for the engine grills, and a few other little bits here. I'm not sure, again, we'll see when we look through the instructions. Pity that this has got a bit wrinkled. Don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can on the camera there. It's got a bit crushed or something. I mean, once it's glued down, that might not show, but it's a shame if it does. And that's that. You get this. This is quite a solid bit of, yeah, it's wire. Whether there's something, there must be something in there, because it's almost like electrical wire. I'm guessing that's for the tow cable. So I'll put those to one side and we'll have a look inside the instructions. So the usual thing that we'll all be familiar with. We've got a layout of the different sprues. and then we just go straight into construction. So you can see where the sides and the floor come together straight away. And then building up road wheels and cogs and the idler, again all very standard stuff. So this is on the Centurion Action X. They had an adjustable track tensioner, so you could make your tracks and then get them to sit on there and look how you wanted them to look. And it says on here it's got a new hydraulic track tensioner. Well, obviously it's not a hydraulic in the kit, but whether it means it's new as in it's new to this tank, or whether this is in some way also adjustable so it makes it easier to get your tracks on and off. I'm unsure. That's something I shall have to discover when I build this kit. So that's page 1. Page 2, so we're on to the torsion bar suspension and the swing arms. All pretty simple. And then on to, depending on how you build kits, the next step is onto the tracks. So we've got 84 tracks pads for each side, and you can now see what I was trying to tell you. There's your jig, and then you lay in one section, put in the track link, so it joins one side to the other side. Yeah, so it's track pad down, track link, and then the top part, which is in essence is the inside of the track, goes down on top of there, and no glue, so they should just clip together, which will be good, and also again interesting to see how well they work out. So then we're on to bits and pieces onto the engine deck. So there's the wire there. Yeah, so it just runs around those vents. So that must be the for a tow cable. It can't be anything else. So there's a few bits that are going on. I don't believe these are part of a standard Leopard 2, whether these are parts of the conversion. Nicely that it points out what is engine oil, trans oil and coolant. From a weathering point of view, it's always, sometimes it's not particularly clear what is what when you're trying to weather and you want to put on some fuel spillage or oil spillage. You don't really know where it's supposed to go, but they've identified that on there. So for me, that's a nice touch. So I know what I need to do and where. So at this point, the tank upper and lower come together. Again, what you see with these is small uncomplicated sub assemblies. Really, as again I said, they don't go overboard with lots of parts, to make up these kits. And this one seems to be particularly straightforward. So there's your chassis built, and now you start to clad it with the new armour. And there's the gun, as I said, being built up. So you've got your muzzle, the main back part of the barrel, the fume extractor, and then going on to the down the breech end and into this this system here, as I said, that gives you the great degree of elevation and depression. Just again, simple looking stuff. So that's page 5. And we're on to the turret. And again, this turret should be fairly straightforward because you've got the two uppers, got the upper and the lower, which come down onto the barrel assembly and contain that. There's the missile launcher. So that's the line of sight, non-line of sight missile system that I talked about, the LOS, NLOS. And there's the last few bits going on top of the turret. So there's the RCWS with the 30mm cannon, which was nicely slide molded. And you've got the smoke dischargers here, or whatever they are for anti-missile or that type of thing that you get on modern tanks. And then that's it. So there's the turret and the chassis coming together. So that was literally eight pages. So that's 8 pages of construction. You know, that's a full page just taken up with putting the turret onto the chassis. So with the exception of the tracks, I can see this being a particularly quick build, which will be, you know, if you're looking for a modern tank and you're looking for something that isn't going to take you months to put together like some of the ones that I do, this might be an option to consider for yourself. And a very basic colour call out, as I say, the only ones of these kicking about as far as I know, and I don't know how many there are obviously just demonstrators for military fairs and obviously as a test bed for weapon systems and that type of thing. So you've just got an all over NATO green, and then some of the other bits in the rear, lights and indicators, etc. Paint colours for the track, and that is it. And here, yes, so there we go. So this is obviously a Leopard 2.8 that's then had these extra parts added to it to build this different Leopard 2, which is interesting. And that's quite a nice looking tank as well. I wouldn't mind building one of those, to be honest. But yeah, so there it is, a fairly simple looking tank, fairly simple looking model in a good way. I don't envisage anything difficult to put together or a slow build, other than the tracks are inevitably going to slow you down simply because of the amount of parts, and you know, some of the parts are quite fragile. Those links are quite fragile, so it's going to take you a bit of time to cut them all away from the sprues as well. That was a nice thing with the Centurion Action X, was all the links were cut away and just loose in a bag, and they just clicked together, no glue. So they would be, well, they're going to be quite an easy build, whereas these are going to be just a bit more of a time investment in them. But yeah, there it is. I shall stop waffling now. Any questions that you've got, or something that I haven't mentioned, drop me a comment. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll catch up with you all soon.